Mandarin Chinese, Spanish, and English are the three most spoken languages by number of people, both native and non-native people in the world. If a person speaks Mandarin Chinese, Spanish, English, Arabic, and French, you can probably go anywhere in the world and be able to be understood by somebody. These are my grandparents. They immigrated from Germany to Idaho. English is their second language. I wouldn't have had a relationship with them if they didn't learn to speak English. This is me. If I didn't speak Spanish, half of me would be missing, more than half. The diplomas I have from the university, the friendships that I have, and the fact that I'm also a teacher of languages, both English and Spanish. These are some of my students that I taught English to from all over the world. Having learned Spanish helped me to teach them what it's like to learn English. And the most important of all are my two sons, Dylan and Brandon Andrade. Dylan goes to school at Sage here. They're bilingual, and I would never have met their father if I couldn't speak Spanish, because he's from Ecuador. These are two gentlemen from Spain. When I first learned Spanish, I lived in Spain. I would never have been able to ask these two gentlemen, is it all right if I take your picture if I couldn't speak Spanish? My sister came to visit me when I lived in Spain, and we traveled all over Spain, and we got to meet my adoptive family in Spain and have connections with all these different friends that I had. That wouldn't have been a very rich experience for her or me if I didn't speak Spanish. I lived in Spain just over the French border. When we crossed into France, we had a problem. They didn't speak Spanish, and we didn't speak French. We couldn't even ask for the bathroom. Finally, we were able to understand each other by signs, like, and at the end, the only thing we could say was, woo, merci, merci. So then from there, because I spoke Spanish, I went on a Rotary scholarship to Ecuador. I studied in Quito at a university, but I'm a country girl, so I went out into the countryside, and I got to meet people like this street vendor in Cayambe, and got to talk with her and just see how she was. This is my mother-in-law, who just died in March. And I wouldn't have had that relationship these 24 years if I couldn't speak Spanish with her. You can see she's washing clothes in a traditional Latin American way on the stone, the piedra. I also had my sponsored child in Ecuador, a number of sponsored children. This is my sponsored child, Rodi Paul, and his family, and my two sons, and some friends of mine. It's wonderful to be able to speak directly with your sponsored child without using the filter of an interpreter, to know what's their favorite subject, what's going on in school, what do you like to do for fun. All of that's possible because I can speak his language. Then I went on my master's program, and part of that was to study down in Mexico. So my parents joined me down in Mexico. How wonderful to be able to take them to all these places and be able to maneuver on buses and taxis because I spoke that language. So that was a powerful experience. And my sons, Dylan and Brandon, they got to enroll in a local school in Mexico. Nobody knew they weren't Mexican until they met me, their non-Mexican mother, non-Ecuadorian. My wonderful friend Noha, I can only have that friendship with her because she learned English. She's from Egypt. She took me back to Egypt. People might think, oh, how wonderful to see the Sphinx and the pyramids. It was, but that wasn't the most wonderful part of my trip. And even en route, I got to practice my German because one of her children has a severe allergy to nuts, and so I had to ask in German, do these foods have nuts in them? So that was very important to be able to speak that language. Noha's nephew was wonderful. He speaks not very much English, and I speak not very much Arabic. But that was one of the most powerful days of my life, was when we went into this citadel, huge, and at the end of it was a military museum that was also huge. This was a painting of Jimmy Carter, Anwar Sadat, Menachem Begin, signing the peace treaty. I said, I love this painting. He said, why? Because it's your home country? I said, no, because it's about peace. Jimmy Carter, Jimmy Carter and President Bush and Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, all have studied a language. In this last 69 years since the Second World War, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the president, that's the last president, the only presidents who've spoken another language. If we're going to engage our SAGE community in the world, we have to speak more than one language. We have to be able to speak, and we can learn it all because we have it all right here. Thank you.